Welcome,
It's unstable. Yeah.
welcome everybody to Mud Flood was Armageddon. Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. We could have a debate about whether or not I should start a conversation or ask Randy a question right before I start the show. How you doing, famous Randy from Wisconsin?
I'm doing okay, but I think there's others that are looking for, more
Oh,
stability.
we were talking right before the introduction about Slidell, Mississippi, and the storms all over well the polluted plain of the domed flat Earth. It's the judgment, the prophecy is on, and it just doesn't look like any fun. I mean, we're all going to be in on it. Let's start by looking and see what kind of pictures I have. Oh, well, that's not. I thought I had some new ones. That's an old one. That's new.
Your audio is fading in and out.
Well, we got to work on that. So this is a
So it's
picture from a movie called Casino Royale about the first James Bond. It looks stupid, but it had some interesting pictures in it. Tall Orders, Symbology and the Lore of Freemasonry. This website was a gold mine. We're going to spend a lot of time there. I got this picture I used for the thumbnail. New Orleans, founded by the Knights Templar and their version of the Freemason. It's going to involve the electricity boy, Ben Franklin. That just looks like such a realistic eye. What a good carver that person was. Some of the Freemason symbols you'll be stumbling upon tonight. This is a Freemason parade from 1922, I think. This says 1816, but it was not a parade in 1816. That must have been when they were founded. The Knights Templar. Hey, they only have one head on their eagle. I guess the United States only has one head on their eagle, too. Everybody used to join the Freemasons or the Odd Fellows, or depending on your race, the Prince Hall Freemasons. Wish I could have got a better shot of this. This is just something that they would have in their house in 1812. These chairs are made out of marble, glass, and carved wood. Pretty good. Nice job. But
yeah.
the harp is not really. What is it? What do they call those big harps? Is it they lean into it? I guess if we have time, we're going to touch on the Dr. Buckberg, young Jewish man who studied the heart under Dr. Torrance Guasp. It says studied experimentally and advocated that ventricular shape, twisting, and septal motion were essential for normal filling, muscle contraction, and left ventricular ejection. It's a swastika moving in and out. This concept built on the contributions from colleagues Dr. Vincent Dor in Monaco and Dr. Torrance Guasp from Spain. It was in 2001 that he delivered that speech, The Helix in the Heart, and demonstrated that, it was much more. The heart is much more. It's an internal spiral helix. And these concepts provide a paradigm shift in the conventional thinking, and it broke the ground that later established that the mud flood was Armageddon. We'll check up on Dr. Buckberg and the heart I've talked about the shy stone, this tri-valve here, when these things would be flapped open all at the same time, it would look like a sphere, and it'd look like that mythical, the flying disc of Egypt or whatever that is. I should look that up. Just some pictures of the heart, the Freemasons. Hey, look at this, the last picture I added. God said, I have given Kanye West as a gift to Donald Trump. This is a man prophesying on Sid Roth's amazing, it's a charismatic show where they speak in tongues and believe that the miracles are heal, cast out that demon. That'd be nice if that was true, wouldn't it, RJ?
I mean, if it was still going on?
Yeah, if people that weren't trying to make money off of it from suckers.
Yeah, you might want to, use discernment.
I kind of forgot how much, in 2020, that's when this man made the prophecy that Kanye West was going to sweep him into the office like God brought Donald Trump to help save people. I forgot about that part of history.
Yeah. Short memory.
I get, you know what? It might have just been so painful. It could have just been so painful. The Bradley fighting machine. Have you ever seen a movie? I gotta go back in my history here. I've got it pulled up. You've heard of Kelsey Grammer. I know that, right?
Yes.
You've heard of
hearings, sir, on the Bradley.
True story. The Bradley fighting machine was so bad and proved vulnerable to improvised explosion and Robert grenades because that guy who was being played by the great Kelsey Grammer, who you can't, you don't think he's funny. You don't think probably anything's funny, but he plays that part of that guy who just got, they're having hearings. That's all true. Black comedy from 1998 about a guy who when did they start? It said first production was in 1980, but they started studying it, for years. And the guy never did anything except extract money. The prototype was completed in 1973. They finally had the hearings in 1999 where this guy just generaled we're going to keep, it was supposed to be a troop carrier to carry people to the front lines and back. Well, then they put a turret on it and that set it back, and they just ended up spending billions, and it, like everything else, failed. And Hollywood is telling the tale. It has a big funny ending.
All the taxpayers are chuckling, huh?
Yeah, he thinks it has a fake missile.
Area clear.
But they put a real missile in it, so it blows it up. I'm not going to risk it. But everybody famous in the world is in this low-budget movie. Not everybody, but a lot of famous people.
Right.
To Me by Dennis Wheatley. There's a book just come out about him called The Devil is a Gentleman. And I have met people who claimed to be Satanists, who claimed to be involved with black magic, who claimed that they not only knew a lot about it, but as I said, I've certainly never been involved, and I warn all of you, never, never, never.
Satanism is a religion for the elite.
We have no regard for the masses. Satanism is a religion for the elite.
He looks so happy.
You will not only lose your mind, you lose your soul. I don't have a big library in the account. No. I don't know. Look, the internet and the media, if they can't think of something to do, they invent it.
Jim Caviezel, star of a lot of Christian movies, and the movie about Jesus' crucifixion. I don't know who they are. Farrakhan. Joel Osteen, I know him.
Of that whole tragedy were violence and entertainment and gun control, and how perfect that was the two things that we were going to talk about with the upcoming election. And also then we forgot about Monica Lewinsky, and we forgot about the president was shooting bombs overseas, yet I'm a bad guy because I've sing some rock and roll songs. And who's a bigger influence, the president or Marilyn Manson?
Do you know?
I'd like to think me, but I'm going to go with the president.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Marilyn. You know, I think bringing about Crowley's Aeon of Horus along with your Hollywood coven of other witches is pretty dangerous.
Because I just was with Kanye and he told me he's a born again Christian now. And like, my first instinct was, I'm so proud of you, because I could see there's a peace that he has now that just surpasses everything.
Jesus wants you to get in that car, sit in that car, follow me to the promised land.
Come on, man. That's pretty funny. Wow. What the heck? So the Bradley fighting machine, it didn't work. The heart is all good. I find these. This is a closed version of that Scheist when they opened up. Let me get that mystery of Scheist stone. That rapid 23 words a minute typing I got in my freshman year of high school was one of the wise decision. Where's that Egyptian propeller? Am I going to have to spell that? I misspelled mysterious. Hang on. We're going to get to the Freemasons.
Well, you'd think that it would be something that Victor Schauberger would have, he did the plow and did a lot of other.
Right.
As far as mimicking nature.
And the whole, the reactivating the water. See, that's the Scheist from the heart. If those valves were popped open, that's what they would look like. And there'd be a hole in the middle, It's all about the heart. Dr. Buckhold, he came in this video that we started showing. This guy, I had never heard him talk about the helical heart.
Why, if we can even get to that, comes much, much later. So Harvey mapped it out. Sometimes he said that the blood moved itself. Sometimes he said that the heart had something to do with it. He definitely did not espouse a theory that the heart is a pump and squeezes the blood like we describe it today. So the question becomes, who said that it does that?
Crucial role and function has evolved over many, many centuries.
Now, one thing I do remember is that you will get a copyright strike for this, but there's the doctor. He went on, what I was reading from was his obituary. He died in 2018. I guess he's one of those guys that just did 30,000 surgeries, always held to this belief. And in the medical community, he's a legend, but he still couldn't convince them of the truth of what Dr. Torrance Paco Guasp, in my opinion, brought to the world. But this man did pretty much stand tall. And the fourth ventricle, the midbrain, I showed earlier today how all of that works. Went over the Bible, was looking at some different words about watchman and keeper, and then just stumbled on like, oh my goodness, this crazy website of they'll just tell you everything about New Orleans, gone medieval, how the Gothic revival built the Louisiana castles. That's it. That should be good. We don't believe a word of it, but they're claiming it's the 1850s. They had a big hankering for some hexagonal turrets and crenellated moldings and a light exterior made in the Gothic revival capital. That wasn't good enough, I guess. They needed a new one. Today, visitors can still marvel at the structure, which now functions as a museum called the Louisiana Old State Capitol. Who wants that piece of junk in 1850? You know, that's how it appeared in 1832. Something tells me that this terraced walkway is, if they go down, I'll bet it has a basement with a separate entrance. Beginning with the enduringly unpopular Ivanhoe, Sir Walter Scott authored multiple best-selling medieval historical fiction novels between 1819 and his death in 1832. That's how they write history. Same with Mark Twain, the celebrated jumping bullfrog of Calaveras County. That's how people learn like what it was like in an old rough, tough farm town. But we know better now. Like the Native Americans, they saw those buildings had to be there when they were the only ones there, right? So why wouldn't they live in them also? If you were Native American, Randy, wouldn't you live in one of those buildings and, and be like, hey, look, free building?
Yeah, maybe part of the year. Yeah, hard to say.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're like us, they'd still have to heat those big buildings in the winter, and that'd probably be close to zero fun. In the United States, high-profile Gothic building styles in northern cities inspired the imitators. New York University, 1833. Come on. Come on, people now. Why not? Why not? This is New Orleans. I could have, they have a lot on this website. Now, this is just what they had in their merchants advertised: Gothic floor cloths, chairs, parlor organs, pointed arch details appear on everything from armoire doors to glass decanters. I think they found this stuff from the Golden Age, just brought it out and said, it's mine now. Don't you wish you had it? Well, you don't. Too bad. I mean, practical considerations kept the Gothic style from taking over the Gulf South. Okay, sure. Yeah, it's too expensive to build for white middle-class Northerners. The foreignness of Southern landscapes and climates became marketing features after the Civil War. Travel guides like Appleton's drew tourists with extra cash to experience the weird, grotesque, and sublime swamps of New Orleans. They had to make money somehow, which brings us back to the riverboat traveler Mark Twain and his distaste for Southern sham civilization. He despised, and he's a setup also, the flowery titles of Mardi Gras cruise. Go ahead, Randy. What do you think so far? Weird?
Well, it's been quite a while. I remember when they were saying about, particularly with Louisiana, all of, the abandoned canals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that aren't even on that right now. They see them under 10 feet of water.
Well, it's you know, it's something that was there a long time ago, and definitely had a purpose
Right.
at one time, but that's been so long ago already
Yeah.
now.
It could be that it was used for moving people around in the golden age. Mardi Gras
Yeah.
themes of the 1880s were much like today. And finish your thoughts with this in mind, Brother Randy. In the 1880s, probably 1888 too, it featured exotic past civilizations. And like today, real and legendary, the crews wanted to keep their mind on the Aztecs, the Arabian Nights, Atlantis, the antediluvian world, and ancient Egyptian theology. What's new, Randy? Anything?
Well, wherever you can make a buck, yeah, on an easy sale.
It's like looking in the mirror. I mean, honestly, he has a lot more hair than I do, but come on, man. In Thanksgiving, that's usually in November, 1860, a New Orleans pastor's sermon defending slavery rallied the secessionist movement. It appears as if he was the Joe Rogan of his time because 23 days after the election, the famous gave a dramatic Thanksgiving Day sermon, and it was a 7,000 word sermon. I guess that's a lot. That is a lot. Rallying cry within the states would soon form the Confederacy. It sounds like they had it all planned. Tens of thousands of copies quickly printed and circulated. We defend the cause of God and religion. I just don't know if the Bible really teaches that, the form of slavery we had in the United States was the biblical form of slavery. It seemed like the whole, you'll be free after 7 years, or at least in the year of Jubilee. And and I'm not defending, we all want to be
So,
free.
created equal, be damned would be, get rid of that phrase.
Especially if there's people like Satanists that go like, look, you have your religion. We're the elite. We'll have our own religion. So later in life, Palmer continued to lionize the Confederate cause and fix on race. In 1884, so 25 years later, he lectured a mostly black audience on the importance of racial purity, earning the reverence of white Southerners. He was struck and killed by a streetcar 4 years later. He had a park named in his honor. Lost Friends ads reveal the heartbreak of family separation during slavery. I just thought this one was interesting because you do get, and I went to a lot of articles that, not articles, conferences that would defend, the South and the South's right to secede. And I don't want to get into that. It was a setup war. If it ever, it might have been a cover-up war like World War II to get the borders set. But you always hear about people like, well, there were a lot of families in the South that treated their slaves like family, It was like family. And it just seems that wasn't the case, and that you could separate families and sell them, and probably not a good thing. New Orleans History Starter Pack. I'm beginning to understand this ought to be good. New Orleans history goes back beyond the founding of the city over 300 years. Wow. Arts, culture, technology, war, and so much more. For even longtime lovers and students of the city, it's a lot to learn. When the French founded the city in 1718, it was called Bulbankcha, meaning land of many tongues. We got to land a lot of tongues down there today with that Creole. The architecture has always stood out as abnormal. Had a Spanish colonial period. Un momento, Randy. Can I gotta take a phone call here?
Yeah, I'm unable to scroll, but yeah, there was something there with fires again, which is quite common. And then as far as a little more clarity on uh, all men created equal, I think that implies as far as our depravity, uh, that doesn't mean there won't be any that are privileged. There certainly will be, but then it's a matter of what they do with such an opportunity as far as humanity and mankind. And then, yeah, the cover up of, what's been hidden.
Hey, good news. Joaquin was here. Thanks for
He
that,
needed,
Randy.
he needed to have you let him in, huh?
Yeah, he was outside the door. How you doing, man? I'm doing good. So, talk into this microphone. Hey, what did you think of? How's it gonna go between me and the sculpting teacher tomorrow? I'm gonna just play it cool, like nothing happened.
Yeah, I think it should work. I think he'll be cool with it, but yeah, it was intense though.
It was pretty intense, but I just want to finish. I'm just gonna grind stuff all day.
Yeah, I think you should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to
I
see what
did
he does.
decide to buy my own tile saw and just bring it here and do a lot of my work at home.
That would be funny.
Yeah, so we're going over the history of New Orleans and how it's a Freemason thing and stuff like that. If anybody wants to see, this is a Joaquin here. He's a fellow artist. Get in there, Joaquin, and say hi.
Can y'all see me?
He is a track team member on the cross country. Isn't that weird how, like, the chair blocks it, but when I bend the right way, it says the living matrix, and even the chair's not in the way. And now if you just lean this way, your face will pop in like out of crazy. So what do you think as a young man, with a girlfriend, and probably I would say it's not crazy to think you want to start a family someday.
Right, yeah.
That the idea of atoms, do you see it as a, because I think Tony's main thing was just, I'm a Christian, and he didn't like it because he's atheist. The school never promotes family. It only promotes, find your true identity and pronoun. How do you know you're really a boy or a girl?
Yeah, that's what they talk about a lot.
And I had an idea of that, but when I got here, I had no idea it was so in your face real that everyone in charge is doing that. And so in this semester, I had an example of one professor tell the class on a Friday, see you next week, stay evil this weekend. I had another teacher make a joke about after Easter, Resurrection Sunday, as we call it, I hope you had a happy zombie Jesus day. And then after nothing happened on April 8th, I had the sculptor teacher remind me, well, too bad for you. Must not have made that Christian rapture because of the eclipse. And I said, that's not funny. Each time they did that, I said, that's not funny. That wouldn't go over if I was gay, to make a joke about a strongly held conviction I have. And not one of them get it. They go, it's not even close to the same thing, but it is exactly the same thing to me. So I guess I'm going to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, your problem is you're not allowed to be offended because you claim to be a Christian.
Right. And Joaquin is marginalized because he's hetero male. He sees nothing wrong with, like, hey, it'd be nice to have a wife and a family and grow old have our kids come over and bounce children on our knee. It's not like the Renaissance proved that family bad, women strong, you know. I think it's just that women right now do not need a man because they can use a vibrator.
Yeah.
Why do they need a man? There's no more need for it, and that's what they sell. You don't need a man anymore. You just need another woman, and that way you will not be patriarched. You know, you will not live under a society that oppresses women because of the Bible, and that's honestly what they think.
And if you actually want a child, you can just grab one off the orphan train.
Yeah.
Right. So what's up, Joaquin? I'm gonna chat with Joaquin. I'm going to play some more of that brain tubes video for about 5 minutes. Is there anything? Is that a problem with you, Randy?
No, I'm
Okay,
fine.
Everybody, hold on, and we'll go back to that one because this powerful.
Late Crawfish, Jamaican roots, English like Boris.
Now I told you about my arrogance and cockiness already. Now, the greatest artist that God has ever existed.
Are you gonna share the video?
It's well known that you have a huge interest in the occult and one of the largest collections of books.
I don't have a huge collection. Somebody wrote I had 20,000 books. I'd have to live in a bath.
This is the sign of the horns, a curse sign.
I have maybe 4 or 5. I have The Devil Rides Out, first edition, signed to me by Dennis Wheatley. There's a book just come out about him called The Devil is a Gentleman. And I have met people who claimed to be Satanists, who claimed to be involved with black magic, who claimed that they not only knew a lot about it, but as I said, I've certainly never been involved, and I warn all of you, never, never, never.
We have no regard for the masses. Satanism is a religion for the elite.
You will not only lose your mind, you lose your soul. I don't have a big library in the account, no. I know, look, the internet and the media, if they can't think of something to do, they invent it.
Are you going to share the video or we just listen to it?
Thank you for calling. Sorry, everyone. Here I was talking to my friend here and thinking I was sharing, and we were just showing everything. Were you hearing us?
Well, we couldn't hear you. We could hear the video. And then when I called you the first time,
I didn't pick up because I didn't know who it was. Sorry, Luther. Sorry, everybody. Hey, no big deal, though. We got it figured out, and we got a big plan tomorrow for how to deal with my atheist sculptor. And sorry, again. That's my last mistake I'll ever make.
Okay.
So the last one I wanted to touch on that was the I guess it was the colonial period. 2 large fires destroyed the 1,068 French colonial structures. Okay. Slavery was built on the enslavement of Africans and its descendants. We get that. We hear about it. When I have to do I wonder if my top hat is up. The assignments I get, in history classes in university, it touches on them, but it doesn't get into it. Here it says this doctor was a prominent New Orleans who founded 2 bilingual black newspapers. Again, with the hidden hand, it was always the Freemasons. Those are all paddle boats. The Mississippi River was made and contained to run through this port so that these people, and it worked, Randy, through almost all of the Satan's being loosed, the whole total 335 years, the river, the artificial Mississippi, the artificial Nile ran through here, and it's about to end, and it's going to be the equivalent of them standing on the banks of the shore saying, in 1.5 hour, how Babylon is fallen, symbolically known as Sodom in Egypt. Thinking about the Roman Empire in Novus Orleans, that's New Orleans. I've been on Instagram and TikTok. No, I've never been on there, but Terry Simon has. You probably come across women and men in their lives. Very important question. How often do you think about the Roman Empire? Without fail, most men respond that they think about the Romans often, monthly, weekly, even daily. And without fail, their girlfriends and wives are surprised to find out that apparently all roads and thoughts lead to Rome. Well, they're rubbing it in our face day and night. Why wouldn't it? Louisiana State Pharmaceutical Association, 1926. It's the same buildings. They've been there. How would you pronounce that? Bequier might be famous for its French and Spanish style architecture and wrought iron balconies. Remember, Noah Church used to climb around on those. The front of the theater pictured here from Canal Street while it was under construction. Well, it looks finished to me. Is that the construction? No, there's a ladder in. I don't know. Where's the construction? That's the oldest Jewish congregation. So it's going to be around. That doesn't look. 1964, the Roman Catholic Church introduced vernacular mass. That's what it means. They stopped speaking in Latin. That's how recent. When JFK went to church as a Catholic, he didn't understand a word the pastor was talking about. Had their own bankage. Wonder what it was like living back then. Nero niddled while Rome burned. I mean, Nero fiddled. That's an old myth. The Louisiana Territory was purchased in 1903. Therefore, all the people came under the laws of the United States Constitution. We'd heard that it was 1717, switching hands back and forth. But this from an article from the Knights Templars themselves. Brother Franklin, Ben Franklin, was well liked by the French, particularly by the Freemasons. He served as worshipful master of a French lodge. It was Franklin's influence that finally closed the deal. Like that whereby the United States purchased the Louisiana territory. You know, closed the deal. That you want to be that guy, RJ, the guy that closes the deal. You know,
Sure.
that's who he was, Ben Franklin.
Get
He
the
was.
credit.
Goes on to say, therefore, all people came under the laws. So they weren't under the laws. So once they were under the laws of the United States Constitution, they were able to. This brought with it the freedom of religion and, of course, freedom for the Masons to meet within the city of Nolens itself. Nolo, as they call it. The canon law of the Vatican State must have banned them. The Roman hierarchy was no longer effective in Louisiana. Their Roman Catholic crews were still whatever, diddling little boys on the side. I'm sure if anybody going to, ban this video for that, I'll say, let's go to court. I bet you we can find some case where there was some crew members diddling little boys. It must be remembered that the people of the old city of New Orleans spoke neither Spanish or French, but a gumbo composed of both. Those people who came here from the colonies or from other English-speaking places could not understand the French, and the French could not understand them. It was time. That was crazy. Most newcomers spoke English. As the population increased, so did the number of the Masonic lodges. This starts out as like, it was Brother Haywood who wrote the book Wellsprings of American Freemasonry. And this is where I think I got where they're like, wow, they were Freemasons that were Knights Templar. Take away the 1,000 years, and we know the Romans dressed in togas, and we know that the Freemasons dressed in those toga type uniforms with the red cross in the front. I could see them fitting in right there. Let's just pick it up right here. Freemasonry in New Orleans came from two directions, one from the French, the other from the American. Both had a common source. England, Freemasonry was introduced in France in 1726 by Englishmen. From France, it quickly spread to the French colonies, especially the West Indies, and from there, Louisianas. The two oldest French-speaking lodges in Nolo, New Orleans, Louisiana, were Parfaite Union, the Perfect Union, and Atelier Polier, Polar Star. The Masonic work is now being done in English. Of course, there were other lodges that had formed early in the French regime, but most of them merged with other lodges. It never was a part of my life, RJ. Did you never get invited? Nobody ever wanted you to join the Masons? Me either, man.
No. I was never invited.
Do you know? I mean, there's got to be a Masonic lodge in Manchester, Marquesan at least. You ever know one of those guys?
No, I know there's my brother-in-law lived above the Masonic lodge in Waupun. This would have been 40 years ago or whatever.
Whatever they're doing today, I'm sure it's bad, but I don't think they have the swing and the power they had 100 years ago when they were in every town and they could fill the streets. Now it's just kind of, it seems like they're the guys that drive the Cadillacs in the parades,
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure they're involved in stuff that you're unaware of, but and then I know there's a lodge just outside of Ripon, out in the country. There's one there.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that there are so many agnostics and atheists in the world and they just don't care. But these guys are proud of it. He ends up writing.
Yeah, I think they feel, there's strength, through numbers.
It says he wraps it up in this part. Freemasonry is proud of its many, many sons. They may be found in every profession, trade, or vocation. Invariably, they are the leaders in their particular field of endeavor. Freemasonry is proud of her sons, and her sons are proud of Freemasonry, for the lessons inculcated serve as an incentive for them to be better men tomorrow. And then they take a death vow. It will, congratulations, you joined our club, and we're going to beat you over the head. There's a revival of the people who want to pretend that they are Knights Templars of old, undergoing a 21st century revival that would make it today. That kind of like, I don't get it. They immortalize this. They think that they were the greatest people in the whole world, that they were. In their day, though, the Templar organization was rich, I tell you, rich. It owned property stretching from Britain to Syria, profits from which were used to fund military expeditions. And people want to be just like that today because they were the fiercest fighters of all the crusaders. Huh. Wow.
Their heart was in it, huh?
Well, they were in it. So these guys want to be like them. They have 33 priories from Arizona to Wisconsin. Interesting. That's A to W, but we don't have any states that start with Y and Z. Or X. The main function is raising money for Christian causes. They raised, 400,000 grand. So it's not a small thing. Here's one of this sentence ought to make your bones. We belong to the most prestigious order of knighthood on the planet.
And they're proud of it.
Yeah, my wobbly ball is better than your wobbly ball. So they dress up, These are grown men in our world today who, figure let's just.
Are you sure that's not a Mighty Python skit that they're?
They all have seen the Mighty Python Killer Rabbit. Here's what we'll close this tab with this. The guy said once they got their service complete and they all shuffled out of the church, they went back to the cocktail reception and dinner. Because they want to be, they're probably rich too and think they're God's warriors. And, during the meal, this girl had a hand on her shoulder, and a knight whose name did not catch leans in and whispered conspiratorially, "We were there." I assumed he means the Holy Land. "For 160 years, and they tried to kick us out, but we survived. Don't forget, we are God's shock troops." Pure fantasy, they say, but is it really? They've got articles and papers in schools around the world and faraway lines advocating, through the United Nations and whatnot. Why not? They were called the Sovereign Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem, Knights Templars. That's what they're simply referred to. Because who wants to be spitting out the OSMTH? I mean, that's crazy. They're into it. They were into it. The Church of John, Johannite. Modern groups claim it was recognized as an order of chivalry by Napoleon Bonaparte. How old are they really? I mean, are they all reset when the Freemasons and everything, came back out? I mean, they've all got to be in on it together. That whole 1,000 years added and stuff. Fraternal order, Masonic lodge, only requires that you believe in a supreme being, regardless of your affiliation, as long as you believe in a supreme being, they're good on it. So we've got that. Let's see what else we had. We had the helical heart. It's the Gordian knot. It's being untied. See if there's any of the weather. Cal is going live right now. He's got 63 people talking about the millennial reign of Jesus Christ already happened, because that Christian channel with like 1 million subscribers, Truth Unedited, put out another false version of what preterism is. It's a strange world, brother, and it seems like the judgment is upon us. I think people are what should I have expected? People are going to just do what they do.
So I guess when it comes to proof, is that based on insurance claims?
Proof of what?
How much judgment is happening?
Right. When are they going to admit that we didn't have the money before to fix the infrastructure, and now it's all being destroyed at pretty much, within a couple of months before the summer, and we still aren't going to have the money to fix it?
Well, I mean, whether it's the fires, back in, Hawaii, Latina or whatever, and then the Texas Panhandle, not so long ago.
Yeah.
And now all of this, tornadoes, and I would think most of them properties were insured. Maybe they weren't insured for the disaster, they experienced. I don't know what
we know there's going to be a
what's
range.
covered and what.
Yeah, the range is there. There's going to be some that were fully insured, some that weren't, some that thought they were. And
so
it is. It's going to be a monstrous mess of no money. And it started on February 2nd with the atmospheric river hitting the home of the Hollywood. It's where Satan's throne is. If let's do that scripture. Was it Sardis?
And it wasn't it like 2 months before that other storm that they said, don't worry, it went down and then went into Mexico, and was it Acapulco or somewhere down there and kicked butt? But that was in Mexico.
It is since February 2nd. I said it was going to hit Hollywood. It did. That month there were floods, storms all over LA. We haven't heard, but there's no way they fixed all that or paid for it. With the same time, there was a drought going on in Texas that killed, fires were out of control in the winter, killing cattle. It hasn't stopped. The Mississippi.
Well, and not only that, the barges on the Mississippi were only like half loaded because of the drafting required, the water level was so low.
Right. And that tied into the prophecy of that from 2021 that I was given in 2019, that when it happens, the Mississippi will never return to normal before it happens. The martial law or the takeover to the Apalachicola River, it's pretty vague, Which one was it that had the synagogue of Satan? I know that there's the deep things of Satan in Thyatira. But is it chapter 3? Sardis. I know your deeds. You have a reputation for being alive, yet you are dead. Wake up and strengthen what remains, which is about to die, for I have found your deeds incomplete. Wow. In the sight of God, remember that then what you have received and heard, keep it and repent. If you do not wake up, I will come like a thief, and if you do, and you will not know the hour when I come upon you. So always be ready. So this is, they have not soiled their white there. But one of the churches, there is a place where Satan's seat was. I thought it was Sardis, and I'll find it. And I'm sorry that I didn't just jump right to it, but it's important to know that there is also a seat. If he had a seat then, only be in one place at one time. He is not omnipresent like the Holy Spirit. That's has to be emphasized too, as much as, you know, Satan is pretty tricky and we underestimate him. Here it is. I know where you live and where the throne of Satan sits. That's where they live, in Pergamon. That was the Hollywood, the Laurel Canyon, the Beverly Hills of their time. It was the throne where the throne of Satan sits, and it was there. And yet some of the people did not deny him. And that's what we need to do. That's what we're trying to say, that it's happening, you know, that this is a judgment. Everybody it would have been nice if we could have, you know, lived happily ever after and been apart, you know, to have made it into the first resurrection. We would have had to live through some terrible times, Brother Randy, you know. And there never is a time in history when people are, you know, it's going to be good and Donald Trump is going to save it all. Bail me out, man. We got weather going around the world, and I think that it's all a part of prophecy, that it's going to continue until it's going to hit. Now it's hitting Florida. It's going to go up north. It's going.
Yeah, I think most of these events are real. The same way with the volcanoes and other uh, happenings as well, and earthquakes. It's a busy time. But yeah, you have to maintain your patience, and yeah, and you may need a go bag, possibly. But because you really don't want to bunker down anywhere that's going to be leveled. But much of that is still out in the Gulf. But yeah, it's making landfall. The We're unable to hear whatever was going on there, but we could see it.
National Weather Service in
There
Tallahassee.
you go. There. Are you muted?
I must have hit it with my elbow. My takeaway on this whole part of it is, I did a show, it touched on preterism and the truth unedited. And the simple fact that, I watched that video from Truth Unedited, and he makes the anti-preterism argument that everybody makes, but we're not arguing preterism, everybody. They can talk about it, but it's pretamillennialism. Preterists don't believe what they think they're teaching or what the word means. They are being so dumb about keeping using it and not because it's a joke to them. It's just another thing to talk about and maybe make money on YouTube. And that's very frustrating for me. So,
all right.
Is there anything you want to add, Randy? I thought that I could have done better, but it's just that it's happening live right before their eyes, and they're still using the wrong word to describe a theology that has been laid out systematically for 8 years. And they know us. It's not like they've never heard of us.
Yeah, some things are frustrating.
They've been on the show. And they're still running around with the same, I can't figure out Revelation 22. I don't know what the name is. Maybe it's at the North Pole. It's amillennialism, pretamillennialism, post. I don't know. It don't really matter. Jesus is the golden age. It's not going to work to convince a world that you're taking it serious. So let them go play with their games. I'm going to be living real life trying to figure out the Anna and Lima Mobius strip that your body operated power magnetically is working in you, because we're Christians called by God trying to walk a narrow road and figure this out. And it isn't just fun and games. Wondering, well, maybe Trump will bring it back, or maybe he won't. He won't. This ends bad for everybody, except the blessed people who are running for their lives, trying to serve Christ, who have said, come out from among them. Okay, I will. That's how it has to be on this flat earth nation, because the mud flood was Armageddon, and this is a judgment, not a restoration. Read your Bible to the end. We're rescued. We don't fix things. We're never going to tell you anything else unless you want to add something right now, brother.
You're heading that direction. Sweet dreams. I don't know.
Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha.